nicknamed the Bishop of Bling. Have you heard about him? The Bishop of Bling. He's a Catholic bishop from Germany. Pope Francis asked him to step down from his duties so that a full investigation can take place. The investigation focuses on money, lots of money. The bishop undertook a renovation of a diocesan office, along with a renovation of the bishop's house. And apparently, this bishop has expensive tastes. At first, he wouldn't even talk about how much money was being spent. He was reluctant to even disclose the numbers. There was very little transparency. But now, a first look at the books shows that he has spent close to $40 million so far. The investigation is ongoing, but embarrassing facts have come out. For instance, the bishop spent $20,000 on a bathtub. Now, if I ever buy a $20,000 bathtub, it better be connected to a yacht in Bermuda. He spent $40,000 on a table, $400,000 on walk-in closets. I hope you can film a mini-series in walk-in closets that big. Folks have begun a little while ago to raise questions about his spending. What's interesting to me is his reaction. When people started to raise questions about his behavior, he sued a German newspaper that ran a story about him. He denounced priests and lay people who were brave enough to question his authority. He reminded them that in the Catholic tradition, we believe that God sends a bishop to the diocese. So if you question the bishop, you are questioning God. Now that's true for pastors, but not true for this bishop. His latest explanation is that the bathtub cost $20,000 because of local zoning laws. Isn't it amazing how people react, how Christians react, how religious leaders react when we are caught doing the wrong thing? We saw in Texas not that long ago, there was this charismatic leader of an evangelical mega church. He was accused of inappropriate behavior with a young woman in Texas. At first, what did he do? He denounced the accusers. He said that they were liars. Then he said that Satan was trying to tear him down because his church was doing so much good. Then he blamed factions within his own church for trying to get rid of him. Now, he's indicted in Texas. Sometimes, when people are caught sinning, their first instinct is to deny the truth. Others try to deflect the blame. Remember the Catholic bishops during the abuse scandal? They tried to explain away the failures of their leadership by either blaming the psychiatrists who treated the priests or the parishioners who supported them. In fact, those leaders were saying, yes, something is wrong, but it wasn't my fault. Politicians do it. Professional athletes do it too. Professional athletes get caught doing drugs and carrying illegal weapons and carrying on affairs. And their response is often to blame the manager or to blame the demanding fans or to blame the fact that they didn't have perfect parents when they were 4 years old. That's why they are committing crimes now. I should add myself to the list of public sinners. But if we cover all of my sins, we'll be here all day, and you will miss the football game. So let me just take you back to the year 1978, when I broke a window in my neighbor's house, playing soccer on the front driveway. Dad came home and asked, how did the window get broken? Being a good Catholic boy, I promptly blame my neighbor Joe. Sadly, I failed to take into account the fact that Joe has broken his shoulder 2 days ago, and he was on bed rest that day. My parents knew that, but I didn't. And so my alibi fell apart. I was caught, and I blamed someone else. Every day, many of us are engaged in an attempt to deflect the truth, to deny what's true, whether at work or at home, whether with friends or with co-workers, whether with our spouse, with our children, or with our best friend. Almost all of us at times try to adjust the truth so that we can prop up an image of ourselves that we want to keep on projecting. And then through a combination of busyness or distraction or the constant stream of electronic entertainment, many of us are trying not to deal with the truth of who we are and how we are really doing. And the greater our inner chaos, the more energy it takes to keep the charade going. In today's gospel, Jesus tells the story of two people who come to the temple to pray. One is a tax collector. He knows who he is. He is a sinner in need of God's help. He has looked at himself in the mirror of God's eyes and is willing to name what's true. He prays, "O God, be merciful to me, a sinner." I want us to listen to that prayer because it's honest and it's clear. Lord, I am a sinner. Forgive me. There is no denial. There is no blaming others. There's no attempt to complain to God that life stinks because other people are making me unhappy. No, this is the prayer of someone who knows what's true. God, be merciful to me. I am a sinner. This is the prayer of someone who knows that all healing, all real change happens when we name what's true. And so often, the truth is, I am imperfect, Lord. I need your mercy to help me change. So that's the tax collector, the sinner praying an honest prayer. Then we have the second person in the parable who has a seat of honor in the temple. He's a prominent religious leader, a Pharisee in the community. And notice what Jesus says. So let me quote today's gospel once more. Jesus says, "The Pharisee took up his position and spoke this prayer to himself." To himself. Many people claim that they love and serve the Lord, but at the end of the day, I think they may be really worshiping themselves and serving themselves. Jesus said that the Pharisee said this prayer to himself. And how does he pray? He points the finger of accusation not at himself, but at everyone else. He prays, in effect, "Oh God, isn't it wonderful that I'm not like the rest of these slobs at the 11 o'clock Mass? They are greedy, dishonest, adulterous. They are the sinners. I am not. This tax collector over here, he's a sinner, but I am not. I do everything right. They don't." My friends, this isn't prayer. This is narcissism. This isn't prayer. This is the desperate attempt of a desperate person trying to use religion to cover up his inner chaos. This isn't prayer. This is a sad man pointing the finger of blame at everyone else because the thought of looking at his own life with honesty is too frightening. According to Jesus, only one of the two characters will go home with real healing, with real peace, with real freedom. And it's the one who is willing to deal with his own life in an honest way. The Pharisee will probably be back next week at the 11 o'clock Mass, pointing again at other sinners. On a daily basis, you and I have to deal with imperfect people. Can I get an amen? Every day we have to relate to sinful people, with hurtful people, people who lie to us, people who demean us, people who mistreat us. I don't know about you, but there are many days when I say to God, you know, it would be so nice if other people would just take my advice and change. Wouldn't it be nice, Lord, if they would just listen to me and stop doing the hurtful things that they are doing? But the longer I wrestle with the gospel, the more I'm convinced that the message of Jesus is really straightforward. I cannot force another person to change. I cannot force another sinner to see the error of their ways. We cannot ultimately change our spouse, change our neighbors, or even change our enemies. The only person, the one person that we can change is ourselves. And that change begins, according to Jesus, when we stand before Jesus and say, "Have mercy on me. I am a sinner." Now, I could spend the rest of my life, the remainder of my energy, pointing out what's wrong with everyone, what's wrong with our world. But I'm not called to be a Pharisee. I want to be changed. I want to be free. And that begins when I turn to the Lord and I say with humble honesty, "Have mercy on me, for I am a sinner." In my own experience, every time I ask Christ for that kind of help, he answers my prayer.